the Fandom Show, the podcast where we learn about fantastic fandoms by talking to our favorites about their favorites. I'm Kaya Green.
And I am Stephanie Malik.
And today we are talking about the magic that makes creatures happen. We're talking about special effects makeup. Ooh. It's a Halloween episode, everybody. I'm very excited to talk about this. Steph, what do you know about special effects makeup?
Oh, there's glue involved.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know much about the art of special effects makeup. I feel like with our guest, who will be introduced shortly, I feel like I've gotten to watch her like go from I'm interested in this to then making going to school for it and making a career about it. So it's been really cool watching that process and learning about it through someone else's experience. But in terms of personally, I don't know a ton. I don't watch a lot of scary movies. I don't watch a lot of creature features. I don't watch a lot of high special effects things. But I'm sure there's things that I do watch that I don't even know that they are special effects makeup. Kaya, what do you know about it?
Well, I don't want to say I know a lot about it because because I don't actually know a lot about the process of it. I'm not in no way skilled about it, but I'm very enthusiastic about it because I love monsters and I love special effects in general. Ever since because when I was growing up, Spooky was cool. Big Wolf on Campus was one of my favorite shows. Goosebumps was one of my favorite shows. You Afraid of the Dark.
Yeah.
The new Addams Family was a TV show I watched on the regular.
Oh, yes.
And of course Buffy. So I love monsters. And I've always been fascinated by the people who can bring them to life. Because as a costume enthusiast and all that stuff. So I love watching behind the scenes stuff on how they do these things. But there's so much I don't know about them. So I'm very, very, very excited to be doing this episode.
You know who does know a lot about them?
I have a hunch.
I hope so, because they're sitting with us right now. Meg Fraser is a makeup and special effects artist and educator. She works at Sheridan College teaching special effects makeup, as well as just shares it on her incredible social media. You get to watch the process and get scared by random fingers sometimes that you're like, what the fuck? Meg, hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
I love that if you haven't seen my Instagram before, the fingers comment. I'm sure people are like,
do you get that a lot?
Yes. I also do bridal makeup, which is always hilarious.
Yeah, that's a big swing.
So sometimes they're like, oh, I was checking out your Facebook and I went to your Instagram and was like, there was a foot there, a disembodied foot. And I was like, is that why you hired me? And they were usually like, yes, that is. I liked that. So I'm like, great. So that's when I usually get good clients. So it's actually really helpful in that case. So
okay, it weeds out the lamos. Where you're like,
exactly.
I don't want to.
Classic bride, get out of here.
Yeah.
You're not
invited.
The weirdos.
If I saw somebody else who did special effects makeup, I'd be like them. That's who. I mean,
they're always I made a terrible decision. I should be a zombie tonight. I'm like, you should be. So
100%
zombie brides next up.
Okay, let's pretend somebody had never heard of special effects makeup before. Somebody who isn't a super nerd about how movies get made. Mm-hmm. How would you describe special effects makeup?
So it's special. There's actually kind of a variety of special effects. There's out of kit special effects. So that's kind of the reason why it's called out of kit is it's what makeup artists have on their person all the time. So things like bruising, dirt and sweat, which people tend to forget about is special effects, make someone dirty and sweaty.
Sweat. I hadn't ever thought about that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's always funny if you think about Castaway, there's that crunchy lived in dirt, which you have to create. So that's something that a lot of people forget about because they think about the big, gory monsters. But I'm like, that little cut that then became a scar, super important to the story as well. Also, that is also out of kit effects. And then we get into creating creatures, even just making someone look sick, making someone look skinny, making someone look like hurt. Again, we get to monster, alien, other creatures.
Zombies.
Yeah. Looking old,
looking like somebody else. We have actors that play, historic characters. So making them look like the person. Those basically all those things. Making someone bald, making someone younger, which is hard to do. But making someone older, still hard, but easier than younger. But so there is a large variety of skill level because I think when some people think of special effects, they think of the big things. So the little things, the drippy sweat is always my favorite. Being like, you got to look ill. So you spray glycerin water on them, and then that's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I guess people often probably think of it as a neck up process, but it certainly isn't.
For sure, full body.
Yeah.
There are special effects technicians that build like creature suits, and even like if you think about, if you've seen The Boys, the little gills on Deep, that was a whole, there's a couple different things they did. They did a body, just a full body for the gross things that may happen to those gills. And feet, and like hobbit feet. And if you've seen Deadpool, she has a bald cap and she has the long fingers. Her fingers are extra long, and those are little prosthetics that no one probably knew until I said this right now. So, yeah.
I mean, even just the fact that, like, I remember watching Lord of the Rings for the first time and noticing specifically that there was dirt under their nails.
Ooh, love it.
And it made such a huge difference.
Yeah, it's, whenever I teach this too, I'm always like, especially with fake dirt, think about, like, where are people getting dirty? There's nothing that makes me angrier when I see anything where I'm like, dirt wouldn't settle there. It's like elbows, fingernails, like cuffs of, like, even on clothing too. It's not our job, makeup artist job, but they usually work closely with costumers about, like where the dirt's on the knees, neck a lot, because people touch their face a lot, that sort of thing. So proper placement, what color is it? How old is it? Is it dried? Are they in a desert? The color's gonna be different. So there's a lot of things to analyze when it comes to just dirt. But yeah, under the nails, actors have always gotten mad at me where I'm like, I'm sorry, and I'm like dirtying up their manicure. I'm like, you gotta. So.
How do you do? Do you like have them like scrape at something if it goes under their nails?
So it's funny because a lot of people are like, oh, just like roll around in the dirt. I'm like, no, because real dirt actually doesn't look like dirt on camera. You have to use. There's powder pigments. There's alcohol paint, which is paint that is activated by 99% alcohol. So it's really great for hands because, as we know, we all wash our hands a zillion times a day now. So it actually lasts underneath. There's like gooey dirt that looks like mud. You can add a product that makes it look like slime or makes it crusty, like Fuller's Earth. Like, again, like castaway crusty dirt. But yeah, knowing what they're doing and where they're going is always, that's why you have to like analyze the script to make sure you're doing everything correctly. I know it's...
Oh, this is so cool.
It's already fascinating. Okay, what's your origin story? Like, because when I first met you, you were doing comedy. That was, you were writing primarily. And then something happened and you're like, you like did an Instagram post where you're like, I think I might do this. I'm kind of interested in this. Should I go back to school? And then you did. And
then
what was the moment where you're like, I love this so much, I need to do it?
It's funny because I remember I was 27. I was working at a gross bar and I hated everything. And I think I was also going through a breakup and I was just like, okay, I'm at that age where I'm like, I wanted to have a skill. I want to have some sort of career ambition. And my friend Kristen McGregor, I'm going to shoot her out because she was the one, she's like, you like makeup, you like Halloween, you should try to do this. Because she already worked in TV and film. I had never thought about it until she brought it up. And I was like, okay. Like that could be cool. And I was looking up schools and there were only a couple options at the time because I went back to school in 2012 and now there's like 8 million makeup schools. But I was looking and I was Googling and I found Sheridan and it was like one of the best decisions of my life. And then, from there, I took the makeup program and then I took the advanced special effects program as well. And then it kind of went off from there and it was great because it was nice to have the comedic background because there's so many people in the industry who are now producers or actors, and word of mouth was really great because it'd be like, oh, I have a friend who does this thing. So I was able to kind of work my way up a little bit faster than probably most, which was nice. But, being in the comedy community in Toronto for 10 years.
Yeah, a lot of contacts.
At the time, it was just like, good, I could use that for something. So, and then it's been great because then a couple years after I graduated, Sheridan was like, do you want to start teaching classes? And I was like, okay. And that's been great because it's
fun.
Like
anytime it's like, do you like this?
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Sure. That's my passionate voice. Okay, sure. When they asked me though too, I wasn't sure how I'd like teaching, but seeing the students who are just as passionate as me and being able to guide them has been really nice. So they're so young and they're so pure.
Was there like a makeup look or like a creature that you saw and you're like, I need to understand how did you do this?
Ooh, good question. You were talking about like...
was it the Lady Gremlin?
You know what?
She's a puppet.
We love the Lady Gremlin.
I did go as that for Halloween.
I know you
and
did.
It was great.
You are a master of Halloween costumes.
That was
You truly are.
That was the year that I was talking to people and they didn't know it was me. And then after they're like, "Oh, I was talking to Megan for 20 minutes."
That happened, very passionate.
Happened a couple times. But yeah, character-wise, I think you were mentioning like Buffy and Are You Afraid of the Dark? I think there was things on there that I really liked. I think it's so cliche, but I think like Beetlejuice I really enjoyed.
Not cliche, that's friggin' awesome.
Just because it's not, or you know what? This is actually the Penguin from the Batman. I
totally.
From Danny DeVito's character. Again, I guess it's just Neil's makeup I really enjoy, but that makeup was so, I don't want to say simple because it wasn't, but like he was so grotesque. I still remember the scene where he's like eating the fish and he's just
his
teeth. That's the thing too. Like thinking about the whole body,
Detail,
teeth, rotting teeth, the stringy hair, the waddle, like the whole outfit was so perfect.
The suit with that, like his long johns with the way
but he's like,
so
yeah, and
dirty.
They're so gross.
Oh, he is so unsettling to look at in the right way. But oh god,
yeah, that. And that's the thing. I'm not even like really a Batman fan, but like I remember seeing just that character going, ew, like that's so.
Yeah.
And then you see Danny DeVito later, you're like, oh, what a joyful man.
What a totally
He's a
normal
totally
looking
different
person.
Yeah. So that's where like too the full. Maybe that's just makeup in general is either transforming someone to be beautiful or transforming someone to be like something else. The reaction of somebody when you do something is even if like you make someone look disgusting and they look in the mirror and go, yay. Because I think as an actor, they need that. They need to feel like they're in the character. So getting that kind of praise from the actor going, this is exactly what I want is always nice as well.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And there's something so satisfying about getting that detail in there. Like Steph and I are like also big Halloween costume enthusiasts.
Yeah.
We love to do it. And getting those like little details and feeling like you've nailed every little thing.
That's always the thing. And that's why I think I stress out so much about my Halloween costume is that I'm just like, the color's off. I need to get like these nails. I need to get these contact lenses. I need to get, what else do I need? And getting the details down are so hard. I think even for like when I went as Barf from Spaceballs, finding the right patch that said Barf on it. I was like,
it makes a difference.
And I remember I was shooting a movie was I in Thunder Bay then? And I was ordering things off Amazon and I was looking for like the ears and the wig or whatever. And it said like Space Dog wig.
Oh my
When it
God.
got delivered to my house, I was like,
my God.
I am Space Dog. Which I thought was very
Nondescript.
funny. Yeah, but and also
copyright.
because I know you love Ghostbusters so much, Steph, and I got a Ghostbusters outfit because I couldn't find overalls anywhere because I think that was the year or close to a year that Ghostbusters came out.
Yeah.
And it was so hard to find those
jumpsuit.
overalls. So I found like like an adult version. I had to use an iron to take off the decal because it was like on there. And I just remember like, I hope no one notices. Because I was like, no one cares. I had to be like, no one cares. I care.
But the thing is, it's like as someone who cares, I don't even like if one person notices that detail, I'm over the fucking moon.
Oh, completely.
Like, if someone's like, I love the detailing you did on this logo, I'm like, I knew someone would notice it.
100%.
It was important.
And I'm somebody who does that too, where I'm like, oh, you changed this, you did this, and then the single tear rolls down the person's cheek. They're like, oh, that work was worth it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, this year's interesting. So we'll see. But there's going to be little tidbits in it that I hope. Well, you'll notice now that I said. But yeah.
Oh, very exciting.
So excited.
Okay, we're getting hyped for Halloween, everyone. Okay, so let's talk about prosthetics because I think that's like the first thing people often think about when they think about special effects makeup.
Yeah.
What actually goes into the process of making a prosthetic for somebody?
Oh, okay. So it's going to depend on what they're doing. So there's kind of like let's like a full face prosthetic. There's probably two different products that could be used, either foam latex or silicone. Silicone, you felt like something like like a bra insert, like the little gross feeling of silicone. It has weight to it, so you have to be careful about what you're choosing to make with silicone or with foam.
Right.
Foam was more common back in the day. Like again, the penguin face was foam latex. Oh yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire. I was going to say Mrs. Doubtfire as well.
Oh,
Is that foam?
That's foam latex as well.
What a good example
but
of.
that's also a movie that people forget. Like that's I want to say 6 or 7 different pieces of foam latex on that face because you can't just put a mask on, which is what they did in the movie and made me so angry.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's just this easy mask that can come on and off. I'm like, that took hours.
Yeah.
That is not an easy mask.
Yeah, I
it's
get
like-
why for
yeah.
comedy reasons, but
Yeah.
it must be frustrating.
It was like a forehead and a nose and 2 cheeks and an upper lip and a lower lip and a chin and then a neck and then the wig and the contacts and the makeup. Apparently it was just a mask. No,
we watched that movie again recently, and that makeup holds up. Like the first time it's revealed, it's like, holy fuck! Like I know it's Robin Williams.
exactly. It's so well done. It's also like, hey, back to how you make it. Basically, you face cast an actor. Have you ever been face casted before?
No. I
I
hear it's
want
very
to, but I'm also
claustrophobic.
nervous about it.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll do it for you. If you want a random death mask of yourself in your house.
Yes, I
Kind of.
do.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. So what you do is either they use alginate. So if you've ever been to the dentist and got braces done,
Oh, yeah.
that goo they put in your mouth is
I hate that.
alginate.
Yeah.
Or they use silicone to make a face cast. They basically make a cement version of your face, and then they sculpt on that, and then they mold it, and then they either cast it in either foam latex or silicone. Again, depending on what it is. Like I was saying, they used foam a lot more back in the day because silicone was expensive and not really around too much. Now they tend to use silicone more depending on, again, budget too. Silicone's more expensive, but and then they sculpt it, and then depending on what it is. So like I was saying, Mrs. Doubtfire had like 7 different pieces. They would sculpt it all and then break it off. It's called floating the mold. So the pieces of clay come off, and you put them on little individual other molds, and you make 7 separate molds for it. It's a process.
So it's like making a puzzle.
Kind of, yeah, and it is
Yeah.
exactly a puzzle, and then you have to put it on right because everything needs to overlap. And the reason why they don't just put a mask on somebody is because the way the face moves. You need it to wrinkle in the right place for it to look realistic. If you just put a mask on, it might wrinkle like in the middle of the cheek, or the nose might wrinkle weird. But if you overlap it correctly, because usually they get overlapped where we naturally have lines on the face. So like, I don't know, beside the eyes or the nasal labial folds, or like, again, beside the mouth, the marionette lines basically. Just so it looks more natural.
Yeah.
But yeah, even like I've worked on Star Trek before, and it was, again, very, very multi-pieces. And the more pieces you have, basically, the more bendable the face is. Foam latex feels better than silicone because it is lighter, but it absorbs sweat like a sponge, and it's harder to paint. Removing it at the end of the day is nasty.
Oh boy, I bet.
Especially if you have to reuse, like, do you
can't-
clean it?
You can't reuse them.
No, so you have to make-
So that's exactly like, think how many different prosthetics they needed for Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh my
for
God.
the penguin, yeah. So
Even just going through a Star Trek series, like they must go through tons of them.
yeah, they used like a $40 bald cap, and then they put all, so it was very expensive.
Wow.
But they have the budget.
Yeah.
they got
They're
some
Star
money.
Trek.
Not a
But
problem
that's
for Star
space
Trek.
money.
But that's the thing too. Painting prosthetics as well is different depending on what you use. So foam latex, again, think about a white sponge. Like if you've ever used like a white makeup sponge, how are you going to make it look like skin? Because it already is white. It's not
Porous.
translucent. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's porous. So you have to make sure you paint it correctly. You have to use a product called Pax Paint, which is Prozaid, which is an acrylic adhesive glue. You talked about glues earlier. That's one of them. Mixed with acrylic paint. You can pre-buy it and stuff, but you can make it yourself. You make a skin tone. You kind of put a layer on first. Sometimes you put a base layer of red because we all have red blood flow under our skin. Then you put the skin tone over top. Then you kind of, I would say speckle freckle. We use basically like a toothbrush, and you put like freckles because we all have like blues, greens, purples, freckles in our skin, and you want to make sure it has all those colors. If it doesn't, it looks really flat and bad. Silicone you can tint. You can tint foam too, but silicone you can tint to skin tone. So if you're, the actor that you're doing, match skin. Put it on. Looks pretty good on its own. You still have to like do some speckle freckling, but it's easier that way where you can match skin tone pretty well. But yeah, it still takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So those poor actors who sit for like 3-4 hours. I think even Robin Williams was saying that he sits and kind of watches a movie and zones out. I think Jim Carrey during The Grinch went crazy.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that.
And he was like, because he was probably in makeup for at least 4 and 5 hours, had to put the outfit on. He probably felt so claustrophobic.
I feel like they shot like 3 hours a day because it took them
Yeah.
so long to get him into makeup and then out of makeup.
And that's the thing too. They kind of try to speed you up so they have more time with the actor. But you get faster as you do it every day. And you have to think about their skin. They have glue on every day.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we're not just tearing it off, because if it takes 2 hours to take off, it's probably gonna take an hour to remove. So I've had to Q-tip inside people's ears before to get color out. And I was just like, this is my dream.
I've always wanted to
when I was
clean
10.
it.
Yeah.
Is this why makeup artists are the ones that actors confide in on sets because they're sitting there with them for hours?
And also we sit beside them all the time in set too. So we sit in the trailer, do makeup. We know everything. What do you want to know? No, I'm kidding.
All the good goss.
Oh my God. All that gossip.
How much research goes into creating like things like wounds and like just do you know a lot about bruising and blood loss now?
Yes. The things I've had to Google are alarming.
Are you on a watch list now?
I'm worried. No, it's true because you have to think about like what caused the bruise. Usually, like when you're reading a script, you know what caused the injury, but then you have to research like what would happen. Like, say someone got hit like with a bat across the face. Okay.
Oh.
What?
I don't know why. Immediately I was like, oh no, I don't want to picture it.
That's a good reaction to that. I think.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I'm healthy.
And then, are they going to be left or right-handed? That's something to think about because if you have an actor who hits the person with the bat and they're left-handed, it's going to be opposite side of the face. So making sure you put it on the right side of the face
and like where
is
it
important.
Connects.
Yeah, and a lot of the times too, if you get hit, it's going to hit a high point of your face because that's the whole why our eyes are kind of like we have a brow bone and a cheekbone to protect our eye. Fun fact. So it's going to hit probably one of those areas. You have to think about the kind of cut it's going to cause too, because there's a laceration basically is caused from something hitting the skin enough. Hitting the skin enough where it kind of like explodes and tears open. So that's why whenever you see like boxers fight and they always get they got punched in the face but they're bleeding somehow. It's because their skin burst open, and that happens on like high points where there's a bony area.
Yeah.
So think about would that happen? How much would it bleed? If you're doing certain kind of injuries, it's going to bleed more. Our face tends to bleed more because we have more blood flow to the face. What color is the blood going to be? It depends on a lot of reasons. If you want to be scientific about it, or if you know if they're going to color grade things after, is also something you have to think about. Is it going to be a slightly blue tinge, slightly red tinge? Because that's going to change the colors that you use.
Of course it is. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, like I always use Twilight as an example when I'm talking about it because it's the bluest movie you've ever seen.
It's so true.
But if you end up using something that's a cool undertone red, it's going to show up almost as black. So you have to be careful about what you're using in that.
Fascinating.
And then you probably have to think about like, you know, when did they get hit and what point of the story are we at? Because like bruises change color so dramatically as time goes on.
Yeah, so that's why when we do get a script, we have to do a script breakdown because they also never shoot a script in order.
Oh my God.
So so basically we usually have a makeup. I know, right? So much to think about.
Yeah. It's crazy any movie gets made. Every time you break down what a single department does, it's like it's a miracle that there's ever been a movie completed.
Yeah, and no one just like walks off and leaves, which I'm sure they do. But we usually have like a thing called like a makeup Bible. So we have every character, we have face charts, body charts, photos. We put everything in order. So yeah, say that person gets hit in the bat. Scene 3 of the movie. That means they're probably gonna have a bruise and a healing cut throughout the rest of the movie, depending on how many days exist in the movie, which you also have to figure out.
Oh my God.
So you're like, does this movie happen in 3 days or does it happen in a year? Because sometimes one of my biggest beefs in movies is when someone has an open wound and then like 3 days later it's gone, which never happens. But then there's, again, I'm going to use the boys again as an example because I just watched it. The butcher has a scar on his forehead and it's always in the right spot, so continuity, hooray. But it's something that happened, and now he has a scar there. And there's other movies that happen as well that they actually think about how something's going to heal, or they have like a cut that slowly heals throughout the movie. But yeah, bruises change color. It's going to be a kind of a reddish pink, then it's going to go blue, and then it's going to go purple, and it's going to go... So when you put things in order, because sometimes you're going to shoot maybe the last day first, and they're going to have a little scar and maybe a bruise residue or something. And then you have to go back and you have to make sure you did it right.
Oh my God, fascinating.
You don't want to go too strong with it first and then realize that it's not going to work out later.
Oh my God.
Yeah, continuity errors are all I look at now
like
when
the
I
bane
watch
of your
movies.
existence.
Oh, it happens so often. Like any sort of blood and dirt continuity are a nightmare because it's really hard. If you try to place anything organically and then have to recreate it day after day after day, it's so hard. Like if say you have an actor who's shooting somebody and blood splatters on them.
Oh no.
You're never going to recreate that because usually you're flicking or you're spraying something on somebody. You're never going to get it again.
Individual little dots.
But sometimes you have to go back in and go and like little dots on their face and hope for the best. So
do you notice that different
Yes.
if someone didn't get? Oh my gosh.
I was like, I'm never going to be able to watch movies the same ever again because that's all I notice is when, anything slightly different. It just it takes away from things. Again, I'm sure normal people don't notice this, but I will notice it.
It's the occupational hazard. This is my PSA. There's an occupational hazard to getting into any entertainment thing because you love it, in that you will forever notice those things. I now notice edits because I've been an editor. I notice writing more. You'll never be able to let go of those
There's
things.
an occupational hazard of also dating someone who does that.
Why do you say that?
Because when you watch movies now, you can't stop thinking about the writing and the continuity, and you're like, Jesus,
because
you've ruined television and movies for me. I can't just enjoy it anymore.
I know. My boyfriend's the same way because again, we were watching The Boys recently. He's like, "How was the blood in that one? Was it good? Was it real? Did it look real?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "It wasn't too orange. Liked it a lot. Flowed really well."
Do people ask you a lot about their favorite thing and whether it's good? Because the instinct to ask you whether Buffy has good makeup is very strong.
Buffy has great makeup.
Hell yeah.
I liked, even watching Buffy because I watched it religiously when I was younger because I was like, Saturday nights at 8 on YTV.
Hell yeah.
YTV. That was my night. I think Are You Afraid of the Dark was on after that, which is, it wasn't scarier.
It was spooky time.
So just my spooky weekend with no friends. It was great.
Relatable.
But no, it was really good because it fit. Again, they're probably, hopefully, the main characters probably got a face cast and it was fitted for them. Sometimes we don't get to do that and we have to put like a randomly made prosthetic on somebody and hope for the best. It's really hard with like nose bridges and bone structure to have, especially eyebrow pieces fit. But yeah, that show was done really well. I can't really, like off the cuff, I can't really think anything that I was like, that's so bad. I'm sure if I think about it a little bit harder, I probably can. But
also given how low budget it was, I'm sure it was very difficult to keep up with
things
that.
I've done that were really low budget, like don't look at it.
I did my best.
I was giving no money.
Yeah.
Well, what do you consider the most impressive special effects makeup that you've seen in film or television? And if you want to name some of the worst too, we're not opposed to it.
I think what we do in the shadows, I think a lot of the makeup was so good in that.
Hell yeah.
The creepy animal people.
Oh my God, yes.
I hated it, and it was so good. They were the fur and the weirdness of that, and even like what's the character's name? The big vampire.
The
count. The count, and then he got all burned up.
Yeah.
All of that was so good. I think the makeup on that show is amazing.
Classic Doug Jones.
Oh yeah, I touched his mouth once. It was great.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love
on
him.
Star Trek. I gotta fix.
Oh my God.
And I was like
jealous.
so nervous.
Yeah, because he's like makeup creature royalty.
I feel like the Oscars.
He is so calm, and then he like sings when he gets his makeup taken off. It's really nice.
Really?
Yeah, and that's like his life. He's so used to it. Like he's gonna to shoot something because he shaves his head for you, so you don't have to do anything. But I only got to like touch him up, but I was like, I'm done. It's good.
Yeah,
iconic.
Yeah.
He's probably the most special effects makeup in the entire world.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just realizing we should contextualize this. For those of you that don't know who Doug Jones is, you probably do. You have very likely seen him in something if you have seen The Shape of Water, if you've seen Pan's Labyrinth.
He was Billy in Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, he was Billy in Hocus Pocus.
He was
the gentleman in Buffy.
He was the gentleman in Buffy.
The main
He was-
guy.
Oh my God!
In Hellboy,
right.
wasn't
Yeah.
he like a fish guy?
I think so.
Yes, he was. Oh God, I forget what the character's name is, but like he is. He was a Silver Surfer as well in one of the early Fantastic Four. He is famous for wearing
Pan's
creature
Labyrinth.
effects.
Isn't he the eyeball
He's the eyeball guy.
He is the eyeball guy.
hand eye.
Yeah.
He's
guy.
tall and lanky and has the patience of a saint.
Yeah, and he's a
'cause-
trained mime.
Yeah. Oh, I did not. That makes sense.
Yep, he's a trained mime and clown, which is partially how he got it.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. He's a very nice man. So
yeah, he's legendary in the creature effects world.
yeah, and big around Toronto just because he was shooting two things here at the same time. So.
Yeah,
Bless
that makes
him.
sense.
What do you think would be one of the worst special effects makeup that you've seen on TV or film?
Oh. Okay, you might remember this. Back during the pandemic, I was rewatching Grey's Anatomy and
Oh my
ER,
God.
and I would be
God.
posting some of the work, and some of it
Yes.
was so. There was a kid. He was ill. I don't know what he was ill, but he was like fluorescent yellow.
Oh, no.
With like, I can't even think, like lavender purple under eyes.
Is it supposed to be like jaundice?
That color, it was so bright, but also like, think of, you know, the I Love Turtles kid?
Yes.
It was that, but like
God.
yellow and purple.
Oh my
Actually,
God.
that's a lie. I'm bringing it back to an ER episode. I think it was ER. They had smallpox. It was a family, and the two kids had smallpox.
Oh my God.
Think of, like, they looked like they had rice. I'll find you the photo.
Please.
It looked like they had Rice Krispies like stuck on their face. Oh. Like smallpox are little round pustules, but they look like they're coming out of the skin. These looked like, oh, you know what it looked like? Have you seen the memes of like cats that got into beanbag chairs?
Oh my
And they're
God.
covered. That's what it looked like. They looked like they had the little bean bags
That's
on them.
so
It was so
bad.
bad. But that was my favorite. Like Shameless had some really bad ones too. Bad fake tattoos, which is also a special effects job that
Oh
people
yeah,
forget
of course
about.
it is.
But they had the tattoos looked like they might have been. I'm sorry if you're the makeup artist who worked on these shows. But yeah, they were not good. And you could see like a lot of the edges. But again, something that more normal people might not be able to point out, but I'm like, they're just bad.
Yeah.
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 Oh, there was one with a bride who had a broken nose in Grey's Anatomy, and it looked like bubble gum stuck to her nose. It was so bad. And it was supposed to look bent, but I was like, that's not what would happen. You have to be so careful because you can't add too much like density to wounds or it's going to look like it's really raised off the skin. You're almost creating depth, but you can't obviously go into someone's skin with
Right. So you have to like get it right in that middle zone.
It's like there's a happy area where it looks really good. So
just out of curiosity, Steph, when you think of bad makeup, what comes to mind?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't even, I don't.
Here, I can help you. I'll go
Thank you.
first. Cloud Atlas. I watched that film and like there's so much makeup in it because all the same like 6 people play different characters.
I haven't seen it.
And there's some like cross race makeup that you're like,
Oh, no, don't do that.
guys. What are you doing?
That's
but also just some prosthetics on like Tom Hanks and people that you're like,
oh, that's a Tom Hanks. Isn't he really smooth in that movie?
Yeah, just everything about the makeup. You're like, oh, I don't know whether it was just a budget thing or what, but just they look rough.
Whenever I see bad makeup, in my head I make fun of it, and then I go, maybe they didn't have enough time to finish it. Maybe they didn't have a lot of money. I always have to think about those things. But like, sorry, ER, like, come
You
on,
have
you
enough
had
time
the
and
money.
money. Yeah,
Grey's
yeah.
Anatomy, you have the money.
Yeah.
But maybe like they wanted the makeup artist to do something. Maybe it was the makeup artist who wasn't trained in special effects who had to glob on a piece of bubble gum to someone's nose.
It is so easy to criticize these things, but not remember that there are so many circumstances.
I know.
Again, it's
And
like
I've
a
been in those
miracle.
circumstances before where they don't give me enough time for. Sometimes you have to do use it's called like third degree. It's a 2-part silicone. So you put A and B together. It makes a goo. You put it on. You can create pretty quick wounds with that, but you have to wait for it to cure because it's like science. And if you don't, it stays gooey. And I remember I had to fix something, so I was like, it's going to take me 15 minutes. They always try to rush you when you're on set because that's how life goes.
Because they want their people.
Exactly, and they don't understand. So they're rushing me, and I was like, I literally need 15 minutes. Like, I need for this time to go by for this to cure, and then I have to paint it.
It's not a speed thing.
I know, like, why can't you paint it now? I'm like, because it's like toothpaste. I can't try painting toothpaste, and they're like, oh, okay. And then it didn't look as good as it could have, but that's what happens sometimes. And again, no one will have probably noticed it. So, but I will.
Yeah.
You will be there.
Forever.
Okay, so here's a question because I feel like as we're sort of talking about, makeup artists are very invisible in the filmmaking world. Are there sort of like celebrity makeup artists or people that are like iconic in the world? Like I know Stan Winston is a big creature designer. Like, are there any people that you feel like more people should know as artists?
I think because of, if you remember the TV show Face Off.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was like the special effects, which actually, there's a reason why I really liked getting into makeup. So maybe that was one of the reasons I did it. V. Neal, though, she was one of the judges on the show. She did Beetlejuice. She did The Penguin. She did, what else? She's done so many things. She did all of the Pirates of the Caribbean. She worked on Hunger Games, which had a lot of special effects in it, which you don't think of when you think the Hunger Games. But like when they go through that fog and they get all those like swords and stuff.
They're also always dirty and sweaty.
They're always dirty and sweaty.
Yeah.
Again, that's all you're going to think about now is the dirt and the sweat. In all movies, someone placed that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I'd say, V. Neal. Yeah, Sam Winston for sure. Rick Baker was, I think he was the first one to win an Oscar for
American Werewolf?
American Werewolf in Paris, yeah. So he,
London, I think.
London, thank you.
That's okay.
I was like, well, it's one of them. But
That
no,
American Werewolf traveled
it's
a lot.
werewolf.
You can't
He
keep
did it.
track.
But the makeup was really cool. It was very, again, practical effects.
Yeah.
The wounds were legendary. People are still kind of recreating those looks now. Oh God, who else? Well, yeah, I think if you're a special effects makeup artist and you don't know Dick Smith, that's also somebody who innovative makeup artist. Techniques were named after him, basically.
Whoa, really?
In
What technique?
well, stretch and stipple old age makeup. So in The Exorcist, they needed to age up the priest, I believe, and they did stretch and stipple latex. He actually created the recipe. There's other ingredients in it that I don't 100% know offhand, but basically, remember when you were a kid and you put like glue on your hand and it wrinkled up? That's basically what it is. So you stretch areas, like especially around the eyes and the forehead, you stretch them out, put the latex on, let it dry, and it wrinkles all up.
Cool.
And they did that, and that was super cool. And also, like, that movie is still scary. So
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Have
for
never
sure.
watched it. Will never watch it.
yeah.
What's the most difficult effect you've personally been tasked with?
Um,
And how did you do it?
Okay. In a movie, actually, it wasn't crazy difficult, but it was like anytime you have to do like a blood rig, it's scary because if it doesn't work, it's gonna ruin everyone's day. Because if it doesn't work or something happens, it's really hard to go back and fix it. So in a movie, someone got their neck slit, and I had to make the blood rig and put a prosthetic over top of it, and basically hope for the best. I remember this was a pretty low budget movie, and I remember we had 3 shirts for the actors, so we got 3 tries.
Oh, no.
Which also was awful. I wish we had way more tries. It spoiler, it worked, but it was one of those things where whenever those effects happen too, the makeup artist is like just out of frame. Like it's like we're here, I'm there. What did I have? I had a garden sprayer because I wanted it to like spritz out basically.
Yeah.
So you pump it up, and then I literally just have to squeeze it, and wait for the blood to kind of sit. So the tubing is underneath the prosthetic, all the way across. You put that on first, then you put the prosthetic on. But the tubing kind of goes around the back, and you basically can see the blood right before it goes, and they go through 2-1 action. The first time was okay, but they're like, let's do it again. You have to make sure you're using blood that doesn't stain, and you can use blood. You have to make sure it's really thin too, or it's going to get caught in the tube. When you thin blood, it tends to not look as real, so you have to be careful with not thinning out too much. But then the second time looked really good, and then the third time was kind of crap. But it ended up working out. I don't even. I think it got it in the movie. I think they had to cut a lot of it for time, so I think you just see a little bit of it. And I was like, well, that was my whole day.
Oh, man.
That happens a lot too, where you do a whole effect and then it doesn't make it.
Yeah.
So
I was on an extra on The Boys once.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a very, very fun, weird night.
it's a fun show to watch where, again, my boyfriend gets mad where I'm like, I know them.
Yeah.
I know them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're obnoxious that way in the Toronto industry.
Kai, what was your special skill that you were cast for?
Androgyny. I was paid more for being androgynous, and frankly, I think that should apply to every job.
Perfect.
But yeah, I was like, there was one special effect they did, and it wasn't like a makeup effect, although maybe it would overlap into that. But it was a head that someone was punching through, and it had to come out with a bunch of gore at the back.
And then
so it was a head that had to cave in,
that's special
and then
effects.
and then every time they had to redo it, they had to put it back in, and like it would be a whole setup.
So when they punched through like the entire
head,
and then it was all gooey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they had to like reset it a bunch of times, and I think most of the shot got cut out because they just couldn't nail it down. But I was blessedly so close to it, and I was watching it the entire time. I was like, this is so much fun to watch.
Yeah. So it was probably someone's got a full shoulder cast. Done of them. It's probably
the actor was there. They swapped him out.
So it's probably like, did the back of the skull come off?
Yep.
Oh, so it's probably like magnets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then goo, and then a lot of goo.
Yep. It was so fun to watch, but I think they just couldn't nail it with the
that
shot.
happens sometimes where a lot of work goes into something and they're like, well, that wasn't shown on camera, or they decided on the day we didn't have enough time to shoot it, so whatever. Sometimes you get paid for it.
Let's talk about aging makeup. We touched on it a little bit. why is it sometimes so good and sometimes so embarrassingly bad?
So when it's bad, it's like the worst thing
It's
ever.
so hard to look at.
So aging is probably one of the hardest things to do because again, you have to make skin look natural. To create a natural wrinkle is really hard too. So a lot of people aren't good at sculpting that. So sometimes the sculpt is wrong. I find sometimes, again, because of budget or whatever, sometimes they do the stretch and stipple versus prosthetics. I find the stretch and stipple only works when you're aging someone maybe 10 to 20 years at most. Mm-hmm. But if someone's going to be in their 70s and 80s, they're going to have that like lovely turkey neck that I'm really excited to get. Or like everything's like, also like your earlobes are slightly bigger. Like, and also one of the things I feel that they don't do is change the eye. We get foggy eyes as we get older. The eyes get softer. And a lot of the times looks are, I'm going to praise the lens techs who that are in TV shows and movies. They're so needed because what's going to make the character come together is having the right colored eyes, foggy eyes, cool, badass, alien eyes, that sort of thing. And on set, they need to have a lens tech who touches eyeballs and puts them in and out.
Oh, yeah.
Because actors can't do it themselves. Legally, they need to have someone who's fully trained to do this. So when it comes to old age makeup, sometimes they don't do that. And then they have their youthful, sparkly eyes and their old face. And it doesn't go together. But yeah, usually it's not figuring out anatomy. I took a class about this, and what they are doing now is they're doing a lot more 3D renderings of people and almost 3D printing old people faces, doing clay slushes and making it that way. So I think it's getting a lot better now. Or face casting an old person and working off of their natural wrinkles ends up looking a little bit natural versus trying to sculpt them from scratch. So that's kind of what they're doing now and why it has gotten better. But yeah, I've seen some horrendous. Well, even like, what movie was it? Beetlejuice when they're old at the end? Was that bad? That was kind of bad. There's other movies where they're old at the end and you're just like, oh.
Oh yeah, Beetlejuice, it is real bad when they're on top of the table.
Wasn't it Edward Scissorhands? Wasn't it Winona Ryder looks really bad too? But again, that was the 90s and it was different. Yeah, and everything looked really powdery and dry. And also the way we're seeing movies now, it really showcases when things are the wrong color or texture because we're seeing all those details that no one cared about in the 80s and 90s.
Oh yeah, because the film grain.
Yeah,
everything's too high definition.
Exactly. So you see all those little mistakes that no one would have seen when we were. Well, also we didn't care when we were kids, but
like even on sets, like wall seams and stuff are so much more evident.
Yeah, so you have to be so good at your job now, especially if there's a close up. You're just like, well, hopefully no one sees that edge that I didn't cover fully, but oh well.
Okay, so here's a question. This is from friend of the podcast, previous guest Travis Ryan. Where do you feel like visual effects are falling into all of this? And like a lot of people, there is a big discussion between what's better, practical and visual, and is it a mix of both?
Great question. So when I first decided to go to special effects school, my dad was like, well, you're going to be out of a job in like 10 years. And I was like, no, I won't. And I think it's great that we do have a lot of good directors who are like, I want practical effects. The CGI doesn't look great. I think CGI, like blood splatter, doesn't look good personally. On camera, I think it does look too... The thing is, when things look real, it's usually because it's organic. Things happen naturally. When things are CGI'd, sometimes it doesn't look good. But I think what's great is it coming together. Like if you're doing a movie with zombies or anything that someone is missing part of their body or missing like a chunk of their face. Like I always think like in
is it Breaking Bad?
Oh yeah, when his face was half gone. Yeah, that.
Yeah. That was one of the most upsetting things I've ever seen in my life.
He fixes his tie. Yeah, I think that was mostly CGI.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
it's because to make that with makeup would have been difficult. They could have done it though. What else? In Walking Dead, that's what I was going to say. When zombies are like, you can see the inside of their mouths. Like we obviously can't do that with makeup. So that's when using CGI, they green screen it out. They put a little green patch on it. In like TV shows like Wednesday, I always use this as an example where Thing, he's a hand. How are you going to do this? It was a guy with a prosthetic on to make the stump. And then he wore a green screen suit and crawled around everywhere.
Cool.
That must have hurt his back. If you've ever seen the behind the scenes video,
because
he was like crawling. But it looked really cool. It was a full prosthetic. They did prosthetics to make the stitches too. But that's when it can kind of work in harmony together. What else? There's been so many different movies that they end up bringing it together. Anytime anyone has to lose a limb again, it's usually like a prosthetic stump, and then they CGI out body parts. So that I think is fine.
Yeah, like a combo to remove like the additional stuff or the seams or whatever.
If you have to take things away, sometimes it's helped because they will. If it's a high budget movie and they're like, oh, we need to edit out that edge that we can see, they'll do that. With I think sometimes with bald caps, because bald caps are really tricky. Because they have such a bend to them that if someone's eyebrows are weird, you'll see the wrinkles. So a lot of the time they end up using a prosthetic bald cap, which is a bit thicker. But they also sometimes CGI out the seams. But yeah, I remember my example of what made me so angry. This was years ago, but when Beauty and the Beast came out, like a live action, and they didn't use like prosthetics or like a monster suit, and they just went full CGI. I was like, ugh, like why? You could have done a really cool. Remember the TV show with?
Oh my God,
Linda Hamilton
with his like cat nose and eyebrows vibe.
It was not good, but I still appreciate that show.
At least they tried.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think it's a problem with a lot of the new Disney remakes is so many of them are CGI that you feel like they're not there.
What's the point of it being live action when it's
right? It's a cartoon
really.
anyway.
You cannot call The Lion King a live action. I'm sorry.
There's no live action in there.
It is a CGI animated feature.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like it feels insubstantial. Let's say, and that's not to say that visual effects artists don't do really amazing work on things that couldn't be done otherwise, for sure. But like where you can use that practical effect, the combo is so much more effective.
Yeah, like sometimes I get like in, I want to say like in Barry, when there's scenes where like a lot of different killings are happening, they're not going to be able to have maybe blood rigs or squibs or whatever all the time, and they're going to have to use CGI. In those cases, it's fine if they're done well, because sometimes they're not, and it's like, okay, that didn't look, or the actor falls weird and they don't take that in consideration with like where the bullet like trajectory was. Also bugs me. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's very
They
fair.
gotta think of this stuff. It's important.
Okay, so here's a question for those people who might be listening to this to get them hyped up for Halloween, which I think is tomorrow, maybe.
It's 2 days from when this is released. It's coming out on the 29th.
Do you have any like tips for people who like doing this stuff on like a really low budget? Like, what's a good blood combo? Do you have like a recipe for blood you love?
Yeah, you can make your own fake blood pretty easily. It will be sugary, but it does work pretty well. It's just basically if you use I use a clear corn syrup. I mix it with, I usually use chocolate powder, because the reason why chocolate powder works better than say like the goo, the goo you put in the milk, the goo is you have to think of the texture of the blood, because sometimes it becomes too still a little bit too translucent. So use the powder, it will thicken it and give it some grit. And then you have to use red food coloring, blue food coloring, and yellow food coloring.
Interesting.
Because those are all the colors that are in blood. Blue, always put so little in, because blue will take over and become a weird gray color. But usually a little, I think, more red and a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue. If you want it to not, I'm going to take this with a grain of salt. If you don't want it to stain, a lot of fake blood will stain. I've used coffee mate before, like the powder, and that has sometimes helped things not stain.
More so than the chocolate, or taking out the dyes?
The dyes. Usually it's the food coloring that ends up staining. But that is a pretty easy one. I find that the thing is, though, it's really sticky. If you are going to go something really bloody for Halloween, I would say splurge and get it's called a drying blood. So it dries. It kind of looks crusty, but like you won't get stuck to people or things or your hair. Yeah. I've been covered. I got hired to be Carrie when the remake came out like 15 years ago, I want to say. And I dressed up like Carrie and I walked around the movie theater to scare people when they left the movie theater.
Oh my God.
That's so fun.
But I was sticky. I was so disgusting. And I walked around.
Felt uncomfortable.
Yeah. And then I kept finding photos of myself on the internet and it was great. But yeah, it was so gross. And I could feel it for days. But yeah, so I would say use a drying blood. A little bit expensive, but it's going to look good. You can create fake blood with just paint, so you don't have to use real fake blood. You can water down like cream paints with some alcohol and kind of do drips with that, and it looks pretty good as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. This is from one of our patrons, Tyler Crone. Have you seen the horror makeup show at Universal Studios in Orlando?
I have never been to Orlando.
That's wild.
I know.
That seems...
As someone who loves Disney and that, I've never been to Florida. No.
I mean, get there soon.
I know. Before it implodes and becomes...
it seems like mere minutes away at this point.
I have been to Universal Studios in Los Angeles, and I went to the Walking Dead. It's not a ride; you just walk through it. The walkthrough thing, and I was very disappointed that they all wear masks. But you're not going to do their makeup every day.
Yeah.
I used to work at Halloween Haunt at Wonderland, and they gave us 5 minutes per face, so I get it and I understand.
What?
Yeah, to do them, they maybe give more now, but yeah, we had 5 minutes. We used airbrush and water-based paints, and
that's crazy.
Had them basically. I always called it like the Homer makeup gun, where I was like, close your eyes, and we're like, that's fine. Sometimes they would really squint, and then they'd open their eyes and be all wrinkly. I'm like, perfect. That's not what I wanted, but we're going to go with it.
Is what it is. Yeah.
But I haven't, and I would like to. I did. I was there during Halloween, though, and that was kind of cool. It was just fun seeing, like, mascots dressed as as things, where I'm like, fun. A minion's a cat. Cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Cute. Yeah, but it was really cool. But yeah, one day, I'll do that at some point.
Amazing. Okay, we have a little game for you.
Okay.
So we're going to name a type of special effects makeup, and you name us the best and worst example that first comes to mind. There's not a right and a wrong.
Yeah, don't worry, we're not going to,
Hopefully I can think of some.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this first one I think is a pretty easy.
Yeah.
Vampire. Best and worst.
Buffy's pretty good. You know what? Okay, best. Yeah, I'd say Buffy's good. What wasn't good? Lost Boys wasn't that good?
Ooh, hot take on Lost Boys.
And also, I didn't like that movie, so everyone hate me. Thank you. I wasn't a fan of that movie.
That's fair. That is so fair.
But I felt that, the makeup wasn't as... maybe it was better than I think, but yeah, I'm trying to think of really bad vampire makeup.
Twilight.
Well, yeah. Well, Twilight's just a bad movie.
Does it even count?
Did they even... they just have teeth, didn't they?
They do that little, like, sparkle effect.
They get
they're sparkly. Sure. Okay, well, that's just a bad vampire. So let's just say, let's say Twilight.
That'll do.
Yeah.
How about Beast or Werewolf? So, like, hair kind of energy.
You know what's really bad? Okay, when I think of Werewolf, the dad in Teen Wolf is a nightmare. He's so scary. The dad in Teen Wolf.
Okay.
That's the worst. Best, sometimes they're CGI'd though, but like American Werewolf, that one was really good.
Yeah, if you want to see a really amazing werewolf, look up
like,
Werewolf, the werewolf from American Werewolf in London.
Yes, London. I was right. Cut that out. No kidding. That one's really good because the whole, you see like the bones change. And like, nuts. I feel that's something that isn't, here's one that actually I think was pretty good, was the transition in, Canadian movie, Werewolf. Period.
Ginger Snaps.
Thank you.
Yep,
that was a great game we just played. Ginger Snaps. The transition of her slowly becoming. I think at the end it wasn't maybe the best, but from what I remember, I love that movie, and I think the transition of her slowly becoming a werewolf is really cool.
Dope. Zombies.
Oh, zombies is so hard.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I have worked on some terrible. Can I just say something I've done before?
Yeah, you absolutely can.
Where they're like, okay, you get these 3 Prozay transfers, which are basically like glue transfers that look really cool. Also, if you're going as a zombie for Halloween, they're not that expensive. You can get them, I think, probably at Spirit Halloween. They're just called Prozay, the transfers. They go on almost like a temporary tattoo, and they already have the texture and stuff, so they're really cool. I'm trying to think of good zombies, like basically every zombie show, like even like The Last of Us, they weren't really zombies, but they were super cool.
The cordyceps zombies.
The makeup was so well done, and I wish they showed them more.
Yes, they've done every single version too. Is just so incredible.
And I'm obsessed with those zombies.
That's like when that show came out, I was like, well, this is my personality for a bit. Yeah, because I just liked it so much to watch the transition.
Meg, it films in Canada. You could get on that show.
It filmed in Calgary, and I was very upset that I wasn't on it the first season.
Now it's in Vancouver.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, my mom's like, why aren't you here? I'm like, well, this is how things work.
It doesn't.
Anything that
films be in there.
Anything that films in Calgary, she's like, you should be here. I'm like, okay, well, thanks, Mom. Maybe give them a call and see if they'll have me.
Let them know.
What was it? Sorry, it was zombies.
Zombies. So yeah, I mean, I'd say that counts as a type of zombie.
I'd say like any zombies that are on kids' television shows, I think are always the bad zombies. Where it's just like the really sunken-looking eyes.
Like green.
They're green.
They're green. Yeah, they're green, or like the color is not what they are.
Yeah.
When I think zombies too, I think Shaun of the Dead, and that was usually pretty good too.
Yeah. All right, cool.
What about like a robot or a cyborg?
Ooh. I think like the robot cyborgs again from any sort of Star Trek was always very good. Because again, attention to detail, making sure like the contacts and the teeth and because, there's nothing. When teeth are bad, when they don't think about the mouth of a thing, when zombie melds are pink still, like human clean teeth.
Yes.
No, switch some fake. There's teeth paint. There's mouth blood. There's mouth stain that we use for those situations. So when it comes to the like cyborg, maybe they're not going to have it. I'm trying to. Oh man. You know what was? Oh no. I'm trying to think of something and it wasn't that. Nope. It was an alien though, and that was really cool.
Okay, Aliens. That's another one on our list.
Now I've seen what was the movie?
Describe it. We can play the game again.
This game again.
This is a game for us.
When Tim Allen's the space guy, and they
Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, thank you.
Love this game.
Okay, I'm so bad with names and names of things. This is great that you are good at that.
We can help.
The aliens on that I think were so cute because they barely had. Some of them did have prosthetics on, or the alien Snape.
Alan Rickman. I love this reverse game we're getting.
So much fun.
Okay, his makeup in that because he was playing an alien and how it slowly is tearing apart. I thought that was great. I'm trying to think bad alien. It's so hard to think bad because if it's so bad, I think it's just been erased from my memory.
Yeah, and that's fair. You also, if you can't think of a bad one, then that's a-okay. We're here to celebrate.
I feel, the good makeup of things. Bad alien. I can't think of one right now. I'm trying to think of like TV shows that were like, we're an alien, and they're
Only
just
aliens
like.
I can think of are puppets, like
Yeah.
Elf,
Yeah, totally.
E.T. I'm like,
Elf's great. Mars Attacks, but they were CGI. But I still appreciate
There's
that.
a weird little cockroach alien in Buffy that I always thought was really funny, but
Even like Men in Black.
oh man, there's some great
But
makeup in that.
but a lot of that was practical, and that was really good too. I always think of the little alien in the guy's head.
Oh yeah, that was really
So
cool.
cute.
I always think about the guy, the like giant bug guy who whose like
The
face
skin is coming up.
shifts.
That was amazing. I think that was Rick Baker. Don't quote me on that. I think it was though. But
So cool.
yeah, that makeup is really cool. When he pulls his skin back.
Oh God, it's so good and unsettling. I love it.
okay, what about wounds or injuries?
Well, the ER and the
yes,
Grey's Anatomy
yes,
thing
yes.
was really bad. Okay, I'm not going to get the movie. I think it was Escape Room. No, there's 2 Escape Room movies.
Saw. Okay.
But no, they're called Escape Room.
Okay.
I think they're both called Escape Room. There's one that the guy puts his hand. They're playing like Truth or Dare or something, and he has to do a dare or something, and it's put your hand on a burner of the stove, and he pulls his hand off, and I don't know what it would look like. It looked not like what it was. It was stringy, which wouldn't happen. Like when burns happen, you're not going to have strings of goo coming off your hand. It's not going to be that bad.
Yeah, it's not like melted cheese.
Yeah, it looked like a good pizza. But it also like the color of it, the shape, because when you burn yourself on something that has a shape, you're going to have that shape on your hand. As a child, I burned myself on a cigarette lighter in a car.
And a little spiral
Yeah,
thing.
because of course I
Really?
I was a very smart 4-year-old, and I pushed it in, pulled it out, and when the redness went away, I was like, it's cold now. When I touched it, and it burned like little lines on my finger.
Yep.
So that was in my head when I watched it. And it was like this weird, and then it was crusty, and that's when it would be gooey because all their white blood cells and pus are trying to save you. So it was one of the escape room. One is okay, and one's very bad.
Wait, quick pause. Do you ever get grossed out by your own makeup? Like, do you ever get like icked by it?
I did. No, I did a black eye on myself, or like a swollen eye once. I remember I just looked at myself and got real sad because I was just like, oh, this people like look like this sometimes, and I'm just like playing around. I'm like, actually it does happen when I'm recreating. Like if I've looked up. I had to make someone look like they died in a bathtub, and I was Googling it, and I went, this is horrible. But I had to like look up photos.
That's your job.
This is someone's worst day. Like someone finding this and taking a photo was their worst day. And I'm just like, boop.
How do I recreate
this? What should I use?
Yeah,
what color is it? So
right.
yeah, that's depressing.
Okay, and next up, aging makeup.
I think like, you know what just popped in my head is like Benjamin Button.
That's the first thing I thought of too.
Because I remember it going, again, I don't think they did, I think maybe they CGI'd his eyes, but it was like his eyes were too bright. Back to the Future is really bad too.
Oh,
Yeah, Biff and stuff.
The makeup is really bad for that. I think it was like his mom was really bad.
Yeah.
And then also the makeup when they in the second one where they didn't have the guy back. What was his name? The dad. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Crispin Glover.
Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won my own game. When they didn't have him back, they actually made prosthetics to be this. In the second one, he was fighting for more money or something like that.
That's right.
And sue them?
He did because you can't. Yeah, you can't
used
do
his
that.
face.
And I think he won. Yeah, they put prosthetics on a guy to look like him. Oh, so that's creepy.
that is super weird. Yeah,
I'm just good old age makeup. There's been some pretty decent ones lately. What movie was that? Glenn Close was just in a movie where she plays a really old lady with really curly hair and big glasses.
Fun.
It came out last year, but yeah, I thought that makeup was amazing because she doesn't look. She looks like another person. But yeah, that one, whatever that was called.
Yeah, amazing. Speaking of celebrity impersonations.
Not Crispin Glover. Celebrity impersonations. Again, this is where names are going to escape me. They made, I think it was Margot Robbie, look like when they were playing Fox newscasters.
Yeah. Oh, what's her name?
I think she was being Megyn Kelly or one of the...
Was it I, Tanya? No.
No, you're thinking
that one was really good
you're
too.
Thinking of The Eyes of Tammy Faye. That one? Oh no,
that was
a different one.
that was also great.
Yes.
The makeup was really good on that one too. But whenever, this slight makeup, this is for that one, they made a nose prosthetic. So they wanted to make her nose look wider without doing anything really to her face. So they made this like plastic thing to put up her nose to make like the bridge look wider. And it was like kind of jammed up her nose. She could still breathe. But the makeup artist on that, his name escapes me, but he created this thing, looked amazing. When you're making makeup to look like somebody else, it's so hard because you have to work with their bone structure and the other person's bone structure and make it look good. But yeah, the Tammy Faye movie was really good. I, Tanya, I think they made her maybe slightly larger, I think, in the face because she has such a naturally skinny face. What other movies were there?
I always think
millions.
Yeah, there's been so many. I always think of the Hours and the Virginia Woolf makeup.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the time when she won that Oscar, people being like, "Did she win it for the acting, or
her
did she win it
nose.
for the makeup?"
Oh, it's like Charlize Theron. In Monster.
Yeah.
She just, like,
went ugly.
Yeah. She was really good in that, though.
She was really good at that, and as was the Virginia Woolf performance.
Yeah. Well, it was what, again, do I know the movie's name? No. But Bradley Cooper was playing...
The artist, was
the
it?
Jewish piano
Yeah,
player.
where they made his nose
and everyone was like, why don't you hire
large?
a Jewish guy? Like,
also
stereotypical.
But also the guy's nose didn't look like that.
It was such a stereotype that was offensive.
It was offensive.
And then I think he won, like, no awards happened, so it was like, this was for nothing.
Yeah, and he directed it himself, too.
Oh,
so he
made that choice.
He made that nose happen.
That was him.
that's when you got to be really careful. But yeah.
Oh my God. What about like a demon or a creature? Like great and awful.
Ooh, good question.
This is a bit of a like large category, but like
Yeah,
Like Tim
Hellboy
Curry
or, like
in Legend.
the Eyes guy from Penn.
I hate
that
that
was really
guy.
good.
I love that guy. He creeps me out so much. I love
He
him.
makes me sick.
Okay, here's a really
Pizza the Hut.
Really, yeah. No, really deep cut. Have you seen the movie Little Monsters?
Yes, of course I have. Fred Savage.
Yeah. So Howie Mandel
Yes.
plays the monster. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so
I
well
was
done.
obsessed with that movie as a kid.
I was gonna try to do that for Halloween one year, and I couldn't. There's too many things. Because the thing is, his jacket, his earring.
Yeah.
There's so many little things. I was like, this is gonna cost me $1 million. I don't think I can do it. Maybe one day. But that was really, I think, really well done. Kind of monster demon. Was he a demon monster under the bed?
He was an underbed. Yeah. Whole movie's great.
Beetlejuice characters, like all the characters, even though it was supposed to look kind of bad, like all of them were kind of thrown together, I still think was really good. I haven't seen the new one, but the makeup looks pretty good in it from what I've seen.
Well, the like characters, and I don't know if this would have been makeup, but like when Barbara and can't remember his name off the top of my head, when they turn into the creatures, he like takes his eyes back inside and takes them out on his fingers.
So
and,
fun.
Like stretches his face.
Oh, that stretches the face and then yeah.
Like that was
Alec Baldwin.
Makeup?
I was like, what's his name?
I can't remember his character's name, but like, would that be makeup and special effects that you?
I think so. Yeah, that's
fascinating.
Yeah, it's so neat what can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have to like in going into this field? Were you a good visual artist prior to that? Like, did you have sculpting experience? Were you good at drawing? Because I've seen your body paints, and I've always been like, my God, you're good at that.
I never took art in school. I remember taking art classes when I was like 4 or 5, and it was really fun. And I always was kind of a drawer or doodler, but I didn't consider myself good at it. But then I realized, I think, through doing makeup, I was really good at replicating stuff. So if I saw something, I knew how to replicate it. So when I started doing I did a bunch of like body paints during the pandemic because of extreme boredom. So I was trying
Really
to
check them out. It's
You
incredible.
got it.
Yeah,
They're
so
so cool.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was when I started making the really weird ones, it'd basically be illusions where you couldn't see me and then I open my eyes and scare everybody. So I'd make myself look like different characters. But yeah, that was definitely replicating it. But then working off of the bends of my human body was very difficult. So I was
and
really
in reverse.
and backwards if I had to write anything was always very hard. With also my mirror was very tiny. I was like, why don't I use a bigger mirror? I don't know. Let's use the tiniest mirror to look at myself. So, but that was really fun.
Okay, and last but not least, because, it is also very much its own form of makeup, beauty makeup. Is there anything that stands out for that? I know that's a very wide category.
The thing is, too, like, to regular makeup on people for camera is always so much more makeup than you think it is, but sometimes it's not a lot of makeup. It's going to depend on a lot of things. I'm trying to think of good beauty makeup. You know what? Okay, this is the one thing about Twilight that I'll go, when she becomes the vampire, she looks so hot.
Yeah.
Like when she opens her eyes and they're red and her makeup's really well done. I'm like, pretty.
Nice.
I think really done well makeup. They were able to use the warm tones of her skin and hair and really make her, everything shine. I'm trying to think just of regular beauty makeup. Really bad. Oh God, I've seen some really bad makeup on shows. The problem is a lot of the time is making sure you're using colors that work with the person. And making sure you're matching skin tone, because if a lot of makeup artists will just be looking at someone straight ahead and then they turn their face and their neck and their ear is like a completely different
It's
color.
like every girl in my high school.
It's very to the 2000s Maybelline Dream Mousse. That's 100% what it was.
We're getting ready to wrap up. Is there anything else you want to make sure that you got out into the world about special effects makeup?
It's difficult. So if you need it for your job, budget for it. I find, especially as I have, gotten better over the years, a lot of the time when I see any sort of like job postings in Toronto or elsewhere, the rates are either too low or they aren't budgeting for what they actually want. The amount of times it's like bald cap or old age, and I'm like, well, that's going to be this much. They're like, well, we don't want that. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be bad then. And that's why a lot of the time you maybe see the bad makeup. So, budgeting stuff. And then for makeup artists, know your worth. Just know your worth. And if they say no because your rates are too high, that's on them. Just move on and try again.
Yeah, you probably don't want to work with them anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's always the thing. I'm like, you didn't lose out because you probably would have had a miserable time.
Yeah. And it's always like, to me, it's always like, what roles do get that? Like, but we need to afford to go to, like, DOPs don't struggle with this in the same way.
I know.
But,
and
like,
that's, with being a makeup artist, I've definitely found it's usually the job that people are like, we'll pay your kit fee, and then everyone else gets paid. And they're just like, oh, we'll just get a student to do this. I'm like, some students are really good, but also that just means you're not willing to pay a student because you think they just need the hours, which of course they do. But like, there are some times where I'm willing to work for cheap or free, but like, that's if it's going to make me happy and I know I can do something cool or something like that, that's worth it. But 9 times out of 10, we're us and then hair and wardrobe and stuff kind of get clumped into one group, and they assume one person can do the job, which is also always hilarious to me. I'm like, I don't do that. I can do basic hair, but I'm like, I'm not a wardrobe person. If they want me to go shop, I'm like, no, the hire someone who literally is trained to do this.
Yeah.
Like we went to school, like we know what we're doing. Please, like, let me show you that I'm smart and I can do this.
The female coded roles on sets often
The glamour squad
often get very undercut.
Yeah.
But watch out, they know all your secrets.
Yeah, it's true. They got the gossip.
Yeah.
Watch your backs.
All right. At the end of every episode, we like to share our micro fandoms of the week, which we will do in just a moment. But before we do, here are some other ways you can connect with us. This show is always going to be free, but you can show your support in many ways, including joining us on our Patreon page, where for pennies a day, you can get access to episodes early, submit questions, you can listen to our exclusive Patreon podcast, The Fan Club, and you can read our newsletter, which will have all of the bonus visuals and stuff we didn't get to talk about for this episode.
I took so many notes.
Yeah, there's going to be some very fun stuff in there this month. So check that out and you'll see all of the links you need. You can also find us on social media at Fandom Show Pod or at our website, thefandomshow.com. And please tell all of your nerdiest friends about us.
Yes, if you would like to make us smile, make yourself smile, make the world smile. I don't know what I'm talking about. Get on your podcast provider of choice, though. ideally Apple Podcasts, do a little rate, review, and subscribe, because even a 1-sentence review will help us move up in charts, help more people find us, and help us continue to do this for decades to come. Also, head on over to YouTube, because we have a YouTube page now where you can actually watch this episode live. You can see our own faces moving as we talk.
It's true.
Please subscribe on there so we can make YouTube pay us money. We also have merch. Head on over to tpublic.com/stores/The Fandom Show. You can get our faces on mugs. You can get our faces on shirts. You can get our faces on more. So once more, that's over on TeePublic. You can come chat with us on the From Superheroes Discord, where you can meet other fans or hit us up directly. We also ask for questions on there too, so sometimes you can be part of an episode coming up. And finally, our theme song is by Yusu Kim, and our logo is by Jean Blair. And now to our micro fandoms of the week, starting with Meg. Meg, what are you into right now? What's giving you joy?
Oh, I watch way too much TikTok, and I get so angry at so many things on it.
What's the trend that you've been seeing lately?
I just, good little hippo, good large penguin is my go-to.
Moo dang, and who's large penguin?
Pesto.
Oh, I don't know Pesto.
He's a massive penguin in Australia, I want to say. But he's a baby, but he's larger than everyone.
What?
He's like little baby Huey of penguins.
Oh,
he's so fluffy and gray.
Oh my god!
So seeing those ones, just people's drama that I'm not in any way truly invested in, but now I am. There was a woman who found a rug.
The rug in the backyard.
The rug in the backyard.
Oh, I've heard about the rug in the backyard.
I'm still they're like, cadaver dogs stopped and they smelled it, but there's nothing there. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you.
A neighbor died. They found, or someone disappeared, and then a woman found a rolled up rug in her backyard.
She was
buried.
she was digging and she found a rug pretty deep into the ground. So she was like, what should I do?
Then they called cops and stuff, and
then they found nothing.
There's nothing in the rug.
So
someone just buried a rug.
Buried a rug.
Yeah.
We assume.
But yeah, that's my my favorite part of the night where I'm like, oh, my boyfriend goes to bed at 9:30. I have a couple hours to
just rot on the talk.
Yeah, not do anything productive. So yeah, I just get angry and then I comment. I'm like, why do I do this? Why do I do this? 12-year-olds are yelling at me.
That's the thing I always remember on social media is that people will comment and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if you are a peer. I don't know if you are a child. I don't know if you're the president of another country. I just don't know.
Yeah.
So I can't invest too much in you, but also I always do. I always get mad.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's my problem. And then I'm like so angry, and then I don't know what to do about it. And then I just comment more. I'm like, I need to stop. And I don't. It's always like makeup ones where someone needs some makeup advice and I give it. They're like, and then someone who's like 12 and, watches YouTube is like, I know more than you. I'm like, well, you don't.
You don't. And now you're going to have a skin rash.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, please keep using retinol, 12-year-olds. That's my recommendation. Don't.
You're going to ruin your face.
You're using too much. You're using too much.
Oh my dear. Oh dear.
Kaya, what are you fanning out about?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so one of my favorite authors, David Mitchell, has a slew of books, and recently, what I always do is I always go into used bookstores and B&Bs and go straight to his section, because the thing about his books is he has these running characters and certain themes and magical stuff that goes through every single one of his books, even though they're all incredibly different. Like one takes place in Edo era Japan, and another one takes place in the 60s with a rock and roll band. And they're such different books, but they all have characters in common in ways I can't describe without ruining them. So I've been obsessed with getting all of his books and reading all of them and seeing where all the overlaps are. It's so much fun. Anyway, so recently I went into a used bookstore and found two of the books that I've been looking for that haven't been there, and I picked them up and I've been reading them, and it is the best. It's just such a satisfying little treasure hunt for me, and I could just order them, but it's not fun that way.
Yeah, what are you discovering then?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just hunting to collect all of them, and I'm so close to getting all of them. So if you haven't read any David Mitchell, start with Cloud Atlas. That's his most famous book, but it's very cool. I highly recommend.
Terrible makeup, apparently.
Yeah. I guess I also have a lot of problems with the Cloud Atlas movie for a variety of reasons. Terrific book, terrible movie. Sorry, Wachowskis. Anyway, Steph.
So I don't know how many people here know this. I love the band Sum 41. I actually weirdly, in my early 20s, my mom worked with them. They were in my house all the time. But they're about to do their final tour, and coinciding
Final
with
in
it,
air quotes, I feel.
I don't care. I'll go to every final they do. But in tandem with that, Derek Whibley, who's the lead singer, released a book called Walking Disaster. It's been in the news as of recording because there's some huge allegations. But I've been listening to it on audiobook, and he narrates the whole thing. And I'm most of the way through right now, and it's so surreal hearing these stories about a thing that was happening kind of like parallel to me, that I had no idea about any of it. And I'd like see these people come in and out and weave through my life. And now hearing about what was actually going on, like they did so many fucking drugs.
Yeah.
They did so many drugs.
Yeah, babe.
They partied so hard. They trashed so many people. I'm so naive. You know this
They
about
just
me.
seemed like sweet boys.
They were nice to me. They were having a good time. They played in their little band. It was fun. But being like, this is so fascinating to watch this, like, to learn this parallel story and see, like, what of it I picked up on? Answer, none of it. I knew none of this. But then hearing names of people that I know and, like, hearing about, like, labels that were part of my life. It's fascinating. And whether you lived in tandem with Sum 41 or not, you might not have. It's very interesting hearing about the creation and all the things that go into a band, becoming a band, going from, you know, their quote unquote immediate stardom, which actually is like a 5-year process, and what that all was and who did what as part of it. Fascinating. So if you like Sum 41 or you just want to learn about the music industry and how it all works, check out Walking Disaster by Derek Whibley. That's it from me.
That's it.
Meg, thank you so much for being here.
This was fun.
Fascinating. Where can people find you? Anything you want to plug?
My Instagram that I update very randomly, but there will be a fun Halloween costume coming up. It's at Meg Fraser. I don't my own Meg Fraser is what it is.
Also, if you go on there, scroll back, man, because
find the
some
body
of the
paints.
stuff that Meg has been doing, it's incredible. Find the body paints, find the Halloween costumes, find the Captain Planet. Like,
Oh, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I got stuck in it and I couldn't get it off. It was great. Yeah.
So definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
anything else you want to plug?
That's really all I'm really up
love
to
it.
right now.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You're too busy teaching and
Honestly,
molding the young minds
very-
and faces of the next generation.
Yeah. All of that. Yeah.
Incredible.
Literally molding faces.
No. Look, I'm going to make you do a face cast of me at
Okay.
some point. I'm so excited.
Can't wait.
I want a death mask. Anyway, on that joyful note, until next time, love the things you love and tell everyone about them. Bye.
This is fantastic.
The Fandom Show.